Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are looking at something absolutely terrifying, the El Reno Monster. Together, we're going to reconstruct this deadly 2013 tornado and really uncover the mind-bending meteorological anomalies that literally broke every known rule of weather, trapping everyday civilians and veteran storm chasers alike in an absolute nightmare scenario. This is the largest tornado in recorded history heading straight for storm chasers. Wow. Let's just dive right into this truly dark day in Oklahoma, an event that completely shattered our understanding of extreme weather and left the entire meteorology community in shock. Part 1. A perfect storm setup.
It was May 2013, just a few days after an EF5 tornado devastated the nearby town of Moore, and the atmosphere over Tornado Alley was perfectly primed for another disaster. It basically had every single ingredient it needed. We're talking extreme moisture blowing in from the Gulf of Mexico, colliding with intense summer heat, plus a really strong trough creating massive wind shear. All of this extreme instability drew thousands of eager storm chasers right to the central Oklahoma town of El Reno, and they were completely unaware of what was about to unfold.
Part 2. Birth of a Monster. Okay, so let's look at how this escalated. Around 4:30 p.m., these totally harmless-looking radar blips rapidly morphed into a tightening supercell. By 5 p.m., the storms merged into a massive, monstrous complex. But here's the thing. Instead of dropping a classic single thin funnel emerging at 6:01 p.m., this massive storm did something super strange. It started dropping these chaotic, swirling vortices of dust underneath a gigantic base. It honestly didn't look like a normal tornado at all. So what we're talking about here is known as a subvortex. Think of it as a smaller, incredibly intense vortex of wind spinning around a common center within the larger tornado itself. The El Reno storm was producing multiple, highly erratic, hidden subvortices, just dancing completely unpredictably around a massive center. And because they appeared so discreetly under this enormous base, the true overarching size of the tornado, it was literally impossible to gauge from the ground. Part 3. The deadly illusions.
This totally bizarre structure created these deadly optical illusions that ended up deceiving even the most hardened professionals out there. You see, chasers are trained to expect tornadoes to generally move from west to east, but the actual motion of this storm, it was shifting southeast. To an onlooker, a tornado moving at an angle like this actually appears stationary. And in storm chasing, if a tornado looks stationary, it almost always means it's coming directly toward you. But the storm's chaotic structure totally hid that reality.
Adding to the illusion, the beast initially sort of crawled along at a very manageable 20 miles per hour. This moderate pace gave the thousands of chasers, who were mostly sitting on these wet, muddy dirt roads, a deeply false sense of security. But then, the storm's forward motion abruptly accelerated, and at the exact same time, its wind field violently expanded outward. This meant the effective closing speed, basically the speed at which the danger was rushing toward these chasers, exploded to over 80 miles per hour in a flash. To put that into perspective, the tornado's wind field rapidly expanded from 1 mile wide to a staggering 2.6 miles wide in under 60 seconds. It was physically exploding outward at 30 miles per hour, literally swallowing up the dirt roads and turning them into a deadly trap for chasers scrambling to escape. Part 4. Panic on the highway. As heavy rain wrapped around the rapidly growing wedge, hiding it entirely from view, just complete and utter panic erupted in the rural gridlock. The outcomes were incredibly stark. The Tempest Tours group realized the illusion just in the nick of time and barely outran the vortex. The Weather Channel team, who were tricked into driving south, had their vehicle slammed and rolled by 120-mile-per-hour winds. They miraculously survived. But tragically, local civilian chaser Richard Henderson was overtaken right on the highway, flung from the road, and killed.
The storm's behavior just became totally unprecedented at this point. It was pulling sudden loops, changing direction with absolutely zero warning. Mobile radars even recorded a satellite tornado sweeping around the main funnel with a staggering ground speed of 175 miles per hour. That is the highest forward speed ever recorded for a tornado. Just mind-blowing. Actually, I think we are in a bad spot. Those were the chilling, verifiably last words of the legendary storm chaser Tim Samaras. He and his highly respected Twistex team, who were known for their impeccable safety record, by the way, were navigating a dirt road when the rain briefly cleared. Surrounded by this eerie calm, Samaras realized the danger right before his vehicle was abruptly swallowed by the violent darkness. Part 5. The Tragic Aftermath. As if the destruction out in the rural areas wasn't enough, the storm then turned its sights toward Interstate 40 and the heavily populated Oklahoma City metro. A dire live broadcast from a local newscaster echoed over the airwaves. If you don't feel safe, go south. Get out of its way. And well, this prompted tens of thousands of terrified residents to flee their homes, creating a catastrophic, bumper-to-bumper traffic standstill right in the monster's path. The immense tornado battered that congested interstate. Civilian cars and massive 18-wheelers were tossed around like toys, and tragedy struck families seeking shelter, including Maria Martin and her newborn baby. But then, right as the core inched toward the dense city suburbs, a sort of miracle occurred. The monstrous circulation became messy, it weakened, and then completely dissipated. The nightmare was over, leaving an official death toll of 8. The final metrics of the El Reno storm really just stand alone in history. At 2.6 miles wide, it holds the record for the largest tornado ever. Radars clocked winds at an unbelievable 296 miles per hour inside the circulation. But most tragically, El Reno broke all the rules, marking the very first time in history that professional storm chasers were killed by the very phenomena they dedicated their lives to studying. Which leaves us with a haunting question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. No matter our advanced technology, our years of experience, or our complex scientific models, can we ever truly anticipate the unpredictable limits of nature? Thank you so much for joining us today, and keep seeking to understand the incredible world around us.